Take one. Greetings from another rooftop in Gandaki province. Today I'm going to talk to you from the former kingdom of Nepal. Now it's a People's Republic, or Democratic People's Republic. They did sort of a Nicholas Anastasia Rachmaninoff, what was the name of the Russian family that they did away with in order to establish their communist, their Bolshevik paradise? Anyway, whatever it was, they killed the entire royal family, like 9 of the immediate siblings and parents. They did not kill the king, but they made him an offer that he couldn't refuse, and he didn't refuse it, and he went off to live what I would assume to be a comfortable, anonymous private life, and then all hell broke loose, as far as I understand, which is probably just enough to give you a vague notion. But what I want to give you a clearer notion of, and what this is about, is Thanksgiving, which is today. I would call it the preeminent American holiday, up there or right below the 4th of July, Independence Day, the day that they signed, the Founding Fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, which, as far as I read, it was a declaration of war against King George. I think it's the 3rd. King of England. We just basically said that no taxation without representation, we're not going to be subjects, we want to be citizens, and if you don't like it, then let's fight. And that's what we did, and the colonists won their independence, and the rest is history. Before that, about 120 or 30 years before that, European refugees from, I believe it was the same said England, swam across the Atlantic, shipped themselves across the Atlantic to Cape Cod, I think is where they landed. People who called themselves pilgrims. They were a religious minority, probably some sort of reformist or Anglican subcategory, that were having a tough time in England, and they decided to throw care to the wind and faith to the Lord, and sail across that ocean to the New World. It was new to them, and their culture is the dominant one. That's the one I'm speaking to you in. That's the one you're listening to me in. The word is English. To the New World, and start fresh, which they actually considered to be the New Israel, the Promised Land. So much so that the captain of the Mayflower, that was the name of the ship, was a biblical scholar. The old, what the Gentile world calls the Old Testament, which we call the Chumash, which is the 5 books of Moses. Anyway, okay. Make a long story short, they arrived on foreign shores here in the New World, up in what we call today New England. And the first couple of winters were very rough because they didn't know the farming techniques, they didn't know the agricultural considerations, they probably didn't know much about the wildlife, what to hunt, who to hunt, how to hunt, when to hunt, and they were having a rough time. Probably on the brink of starvation, when local tribes, and I don't want to call them Indians because they weren't Indians, and I don't want to call them indigenous Americans because they weren't Americans, they were whoever they were, Sioux, Apache, Comanche, Huron, I don't know what tribes were dominant in that part of the country at the time, but whatever they were, whatever they were called, they were helped. The pilgrims were helped by the locals, and the locals brought them local food and probably showed them a bit about planting and hunting and all the skills necessary for survival in a otherwise hostile environment, a new world. Be like you going to Mars, landing there, being able to, your body able to adapt, but not knowing anything beyond that. You don't know how to build a house. You don't know how to hunt for a meal, you don't know how to plant a crop, you don't know how to mine for elements, you're just helpless. And let's say some Martians came along and saw you and said, well, we don't know who you are or what you're about, but we can see you're in trouble and we'll help you. And that's what happened. the indigenous tribes, I don't even like indigenous because it carries weight that it shouldn't bear, but the local tribes helped out the pilgrims, brought them food, and the pilgrims shared what they had left or available, and it was a feast. And they gave thanks. They gave thanks to the Creator, they gave thanks to the locals, and it started a tradition of Thanksgiving on this date, which is the last Thursday of November. I usually get it mixed up between the 26th and the 28th, but it's always the last Thursday in November. And every American, whatever subcategory might claim their identity, Jewish Americans, Black Americans, Latino Americans, Russian Americans, Christian Americans, you name it, it's a holiday for all of us to share with the same theme and the same feeling. Thank you, gratitude to the Creator, to our families, to our communities, to our friends, for having an abundance, which we actually have. You want to see not an abundance? Come to Nepal, and you'll see where they don't have an abundance, or many don't have an abundance. Probably don't even have that word in some of the villages, because it's a foreign concept. They just get by. Sort of like pilgrims in their own land. Maybe I'm making that up. Maybe it's not true, but that's the impression I have. That all said, Thanksgiving is today. I have an American pal here who is another wanderer, and we are going to eat a Thanksgiving meal Nepali style, which is going to be momo and thessalik and set and their style of food, which some of it is pretty good, especially when you get it from someone that really knows how to prepare it and buy the right raw materials. And give thanks. That's what it's about. Thanks for friends, thanks for family, thanks for good health, and thanks for freedom. And with that, thanks for listening.